Welcome back to the podcast. Have you ever watched an English video and understood almost everything? You understand the words. You understand the speaker. You can even follow English movies, podcasts, and conversations. But then someone suddenly asks you a simple question in English, and your mind goes completely blank. You know what you want to say. You know the vocabulary. But somehow, the words just don't come out. You start thinking, what should I say? Is my grammar correct? Am I pronouncing this word correctly? And before you can answer, the conversation has already moved on. If this happens to you, don't worry. You are not alone. Millions of English learners experience exactly the same problem. And here's the surprising part. Your English may not be as bad as you think. The real problem might be that you have spent too much time learning English and not enough time actually using it. Today, we're going to understand why this happens, how to stop translating every sentence in your head, and how you can train your brain to speak English more naturally. So, if you understand English but still struggle to speak, stay with me, because by the end of this podcast, you'll know exactly what is holding you back and what you can do to finally start speaking with confidence. Let's begin. Let's start with the biggest question. Why can you understand English, but when it's your turn to speak, everything suddenly becomes difficult? The answer is actually simple. Understanding English and speaking English are two different skills. Think about listening. When you listen to someone speaking English, you don't have to create the sentences yourself. The other person is doing the hard work. They choose the words. They build the sentences. They use the grammar. And your job is simply to understand the message. That's why listening can feel easier. But speaking is different. When you speak, you have to do everything yourself. You need to think about what you want to say. You need to find the right words. You need to put those words together. You need to pronounce them. And you need to do all of this quickly. That is a lot of work for your brain. So, if you have spent months or even years mostly watching English videos, reading English books, or listening to English podcasts, you may have developed strong understanding skills. But your speaking muscles may still be weak. And that's completely normal. Imagine going to a gym. You watch people lifting weights every day. You watch workout videos. You learn about exercise. You understand how different muscles work. But you never actually lift the weights yourself. Would your muscles become stronger? Probably not. The same thing happens with English. Watching English is useful. Listening to English is useful. Reading English is useful. But if you want to speak English, you must actually speak. This is where many learners make a mistake. They think they need to learn more before they can start speaking. They tell themselves, I need more vocabulary. My grammar isn't good enough. I need to improve my pronunciation first. I'll start speaking when my English is better. But there is a problem with this idea. You don't become ready to speak English before you practice speaking. You become ready by speaking. It's just like learning to ride a bicycle. You can watch 100 videos about riding a bicycle. You can read books about balance. You can learn how the brakes work. But eventually, you have to get on the bicycle. You might fall. You might feel uncomfortable. You might make mistakes. But that is how you learn. English is exactly the same. You have to use the language before it feels natural. And this brings us to another important problem. Trying to speak perfect English. Many learners are afraid of making mistakes. They want every sentence to be perfect. So when someone asks them, what did you do today? Their brain starts checking everything. Should I use the past tense? What is the correct word? Is this sentence grammatically correct? What if I make a mistake? And while they are thinking about all of this, the opportunity to speak disappears. Instead, try something much simpler. If someone asks, what did you do today? You can say, I went to work. I stayed home. I studied English. I watched a movie. That's it. You don't need a complicated answer. You don't need advanced vocabulary. You just need to communicate your idea. Remember this. Simple English is still English. You don't need to sound like a professor. You don't need to use difficult words. You don't need a perfect accent. Your goal is to communicate. And the more you communicate, the more comfortable your brain becomes. At first, speaking may feel slow. That's okay. You may pause. That's okay. You may forget a word. That's okay. You may make a grammar mistake. That's okay too. The important thing is to keep speaking. Because every time you speak, you are training your brain to find English faster. And eventually, something changes. The sentences that once took 10 seconds to create may start coming to you in 3 seconds. Then 2 seconds. Then 1 second. And eventually, you may not even think about creating the sentence. You simply speak. That is what we want. We want English to become automatic. And the good news is, you can start training this skill today. You don't need expensive courses. You don't need to memorize thousands of words. You don't even need a speaking partner. You can start by speaking to yourself. Describe what you're doing. Talk about your day. Ask yourself questions. And answer them in English. For example, what am I doing right now? I'm sitting at my desk. What am I going to do today? I'm going to work and study English. What did I do yesterday? I went shopping and watched a movie. These sentences may seem very easy, but easy is exactly what you need in the beginning. You are training your brain to produce English without translating every word. And that brings us to the next important problem: translation. If you constantly translate from your native language into English, speaking will always feel slower. So in the next part, we're going to learn how to stop translating everything in your head and start thinking directly in English. Now, let's talk about one of the biggest reasons English learners struggle to speak: translation. If you want to speak English naturally, you need to slowly stop translating every sentence in your head. Think about what happens when someone asks you a question in English. Maybe they ask, "What did you do last weekend?" You hear the question. First, you understand it. Then you think about the answer in your native language. Then you search for the English words. Then you build the English sentence. Then you check your grammar. And finally, you say the answer. That might take several seconds. And in a real conversation, several seconds can feel like a very long time. The other person may think you don't understand. But actually, you understand perfectly. Your problem is not understanding. Your problem is processing English quickly. So how do you fix this? You start small. Very small. Don't try to think about complicated subjects in English. Start with the things you see and do every day. Look around your room. What can you see? A phone. A computer. A chair. A table. A window. A door. Now describe them in English. This is my phone. My computer is on the desk. The window is open. The door is closed. There is a chair next to the table. These sentences are simple, but they are helping your brain create a direct connection between English and the real world. You see your phone. My phone. Not the word for phone in your native language first. My phone. This is how you begin developing the habit of thinking in English. And you can practice this anywhere. When you are walking outside, describe what you see. There is a car. People are walking. The weather is nice. That building is very tall. I'm going to the store. When you are cooking, describe what you are doing. I'm making breakfast. I need some water. I'm cutting the vegetables. The food is hot. I'm almost finished. When you are getting ready in the morning, speak English. I need to take a shower. Where is my shirt? I need my phone. I'm running late. I'm ready to go. Notice something important. You are not sitting down with a grammar book. You are not memorizing difficult vocabulary. You are simply turning your everyday life into English practice. And this is incredibly powerful. Because English is no longer something you only study. It becomes something you use. Another great technique is learning phrases instead of individual words. For example, don't only memorize the word decision. Make a decision. Don't only learn interested. I'm interested in. Don't only learn sure. I'm not sure. This makes speaking much easier because you are learning language in chunks. For example, imagine you learn this pattern. I want to. Now you can create many sentences. I want to learn English. I want to improve my speaking. I want to travel. I want to get better at pronunciation. I want to speak with confidence. The The structure stays the same. Only the final words change. You can do the same with I need to, I'm going to, I'm trying to, I would like to, I don't know how to, I'm looking for. These are extremely useful speaking patterns. Instead of building every sentence from zero, you already have a starting point. And that makes your brain faster. Now, there is another important thing you should practice. Ask yourself questions. For example, what did I do today? Then answer. Today, I went to work. After work, I came home and had dinner. Next question. What am I going to do tomorrow? Answer. Tomorrow, I'm going to finish my work. Then I'm going to study English. Why am I learning English? Maybe your answer is, I'm learning English because I want to communicate with more people. I also want to feel confident when I speak. There is no need to make your answer perfect. The goal is to keep your brain moving. If you don't know a word, don't stop. Find another way to explain it. Imagine you forget the word umbrella. Instead of stopping completely, you can say, the thing I use when it rains. That is communication. And communication is more important than knowing every single word. Native speakers do this too. Sometimes they forget a word. Sometimes they explain something differently. Sometimes they pause. Perfect communication does not mean knowing every word. It means knowing how to continue. So, if you forget a word while speaking English, don't panic. Don't immediately switch to your native language. Try to explain the idea another way. This is one of the best ways to build speaking confidence. And remember, you don't have to think in complicated English. Think simple. Think, I'm hungry. I'm tired. I need coffee. I have work today. I don't like this. I'm excited. I'm not sure. Simple thoughts are the foundation of fluent speaking. As you practice, those simple thoughts become automatic. Then you can slowly make them longer. I'm tired. I'm really tired today. I'm really tired today because I didn't sleep well last night. That is how your English grows naturally. One sentence at a time. One thought at a time. One conversation at a time. But there is still one thing that can destroy all of this progress. Fear. You may know the words. You may understand the grammar. You may even know exactly what you want to say. But you are afraid people will judge you. You are afraid they will laugh. You are afraid your accent will sound strange. You are afraid you will make mistakes. And because of that fear, you stay silent. So in the final part, we're going to talk about how to overcome that fear and create a simple daily routine that can help you finally start speaking English with confidence. How to finally start speaking English with confidence. Now, let's talk about something that almost every English learner experiences. Fear. You may know enough English to have a conversation. You may understand what people are saying. You may know hundreds or even thousands of English words. But when it's time to actually speak, you become nervous. You start thinking, what if I make a mistake? What if they don't understand me? What if my pronunciation is bad? What if they think my English is terrible? These thoughts can stop you before you even say one sentence. But here's something you need to understand. Making mistakes is not the opposite of learning English. Making mistakes is part of learning English. Think about a child learning to speak. A child doesn't know grammar rules. They don't worry about accents. They don't stop and think about every sentence. They simply try. They say something. Someone corrects them. They try again. And slowly, speaking becomes natural. You need to develop that same attitude. Your goal is not to speak perfect English. Your goal is to communicate. If you make a mistake, keep going. If you forget a word, explain it another way. If you don't know the grammar, use simpler words. Never let one small mistake stop an entire conversation. Imagine someone asks, "Where did you go yesterday?" And you say, "I go to the store yesterday." Maybe you realize that you made a mistake. You can simply correct yourself. "Sorry, I went to the store yesterday." And continue. That's normal. You don't need to stop the conversation and feel embarrassed. The person you're talking to probably doesn't care about your mistake as much as you do. Most people are focused on the meaning of your message. So stop judging yourself so harshly. Now, let's create a simple speaking routine. You don't need to practice for 3 hours every day. You don't need to spend all your free time studying grammar. Start with just 15 minutes. 15 focused minutes every day can make a huge difference. For the first 5 minutes, talk about your day. You can do this alone. For example, today, I woke up at 7. I had breakfast. Then I went to work. I had a busy morning. After work, I came home. I'm a little tired, but I feel good. That's it. Don't worry if your sentences are simple. The goal is to make your brain produce English. For the next 5 minutes, ask yourself questions. What did I do today? What am I going to do tomorrow? What do I like to do? What is my favorite food? Where would I like to travel? Why am I learning English? Then answer the questions out loud. Try to speak for 30 seconds. Then 1 minute. Then 2 minutes. Over time, you will notice that your answers become longer. Your brain will become faster. And you will need less time to find the words. For the final 5 minutes, practice shadowing. Choose a short English clip. It could be from a podcast, a video, or an English conversation. Listen to one sentence. Then repeat exactly what you heard. Try to copy the pronunciation. Copy the rhythm. Copy the pauses. For example, I'm not sure what you mean. Listen. Then repeat. I'm not sure what you mean. I'm not sure what you mean. This simple practice helps your mouth become comfortable with English. Because remember, speaking is physical too. Your brain needs to know the language. But your mouth also needs practice producing the sounds. You can even record yourself. Use your phone. Record yourself speaking English for 1 minute. Then listen to the recording. Don't listen to criticize yourself. Listen to notice your progress. Maybe you speak too slowly. Maybe you repeat certain words. Maybe you pause too often. That's okay. You now know what to improve. Record yourself again tomorrow. Then again next week. After a month, compare your recordings. You may be surprised by the difference. And here is one more powerful habit. Use the English you learn. Don't just learn a phrase and forget it. Use it. If you learn, I'm not sure. Use it today. If you learn, I'm looking for. Create a sentence. I'm looking for my keys. If you learn, I'm interested in. I'm interested in learning English. Every new phrase becomes more powerful when you actually use it. And slowly, your passive English becomes active English. That is the real goal. You already understand English. Now you need to activate what you know. So let's go back to the main question. Why can you understand English but not speak it? Because understanding and speaking are different skills. You may have trained your listening for a long time. Now you need to train your speaking. Stop waiting for perfect English. Stop translating every sentence. Stop being afraid of mistakes. Start with simple sentences. Talk to yourself. Describe your daily life. Ask yourself questions. Repeat useful phrases. Practice speaking every day. And most importantly, be patient. You will not become fluent overnight. You may not notice a huge difference after one day. But if you practice consistently, your brain will slowly change. The words will become easier to remember. Your sentences will come faster. Your pronunciation will become more comfortable. And your confidence will grow. One day, someone will ask you a question in English. And instead of translating, instead of panicking, instead of searching for every word, you will simply answer. Naturally. Automatically. And you might suddenly realize, I'm actually speaking English. That moment is coming. But you have to keep practicing. So, starting today, give yourself just 15 minutes. 15 minutes of speaking. Not watching. Not reading. Not memorizing. Speaking. Because you don't become fluent by knowing more English. You become fluent by using the English you already know. So keep listening. Keep speaking. Keep making mistakes. Keep improving. And never be afraid of your accent, your mistakes, or your imperfect English. Your English doesn't have to be perfect to be powerful. You just need the courage to use it. Thanks for listening to today's podcast. Keep practicing, keep believing in yourself, and remember, Your voice gets stronger every time you use it. See you in the next episode.